Okay. Well, hello, state leadership. For those of you who don't know me, which most of you do, however, if you don't, my name is Pamela Banks. I am the 2020 National President-elect of the Women's Council of Realtors. Today, I want to say thank you for joining us and thank you for your service to the Women's Council and the real estate industry. Our topic is very timely and it is top of mind for most of us, and that is how to conduct our new state elections. So we are here today to kind of give you the ins and outs, the do's and don'ts, the what's up and what's not about holding a successful election so that you are comfortable and confident to do it right. And so joining me today is the one and only Jamie Saltman. If you don't know Jamie, you're going to want to, because Jamie is our, what is it, Jamie? Director of Network Engagement. And
Correct.
let me tell you a little bit about Jamie. Jamie has been involved in the Women's Council for many years. Many of you know her. And I have served with Jamie on many committees, as well as on the executive committee. We've taught together at Network 360. So we go way back. The good news is about the end of last year, Jamie took on a new role as one of our staff. The value that Jamie brings is very important to us because not only has she served in all these capacities, she is from California, where the local network model was introduced and actually did the beta test. She was also on the executive committee when we put together a PAG to look at the streamlining the state network. So she's got a lot of background, and she's been in your shoes and my shoes. She's been a state officer as well. So she brings a wealth of information. She's our governance girl, and we're going to have some conversation today. And just so you know, Jeff Hornberger, our executive vice president, is also on the line. And if you have any questions, we're going to have a Q&A. So we don't want you to go away feeling that you didn't get the answers to any of your questions. So Jamie, welcome to this conversation.
Thank you. I'm really excited. I know I've talked to many of you before. And can I just ask a question? How many of you have done your state elections already? Some of you. Okay. And some are coming up in the next month or so, right? Okay. So I know that we'll have some time for Q&A and try to answer some of your specific questions because I know you must have a few. But hopefully, as Pamela and I kind of chat, we'll answer your questions as we go. But Pamela, let's get started.
Well, I wanted to share with you my experience last week. I am from Florida, as most of you may know, and they had their elections last week on Wednesday, and it went very smoothly. Christine Citrano, who is the 2020 president of the state of Florida, she did a couple key things, which I want to talk to you about. I want to give you these tips. First of all, she sent out the slate in a timely manner. Secondly, she sent out a couple of emails prior to the election, letting them know who was voting, what they were going to be voting for, and the new rules for the new network, the new state network, the officers moving forward. She also did a pre-test with the election. And that was very important because this kind of gets rid of anything that people are unfamiliar with. And I have to say that you know how it is with technology, just like Jamie and I and Jeff just had this morning. There are sometimes going to be those little glitches, but we do get through it and you will get past it. So just take a deep breath and go through the process. So Jamie, tell us a little bit about what those who have not done their elections now, what should they be doing to get prepared for the next month?
Okay, so hopefully, I suggest you start early because that's what we did today to get through some of these glitches. Make sure you have your nominating committee together. I hope that you guys have already done that, right? You've got them all together. You've given notice to your membership about accepting applications. Hopefully you've taken those steps. There are applications on the national website. So if you haven't found it, that tool is there for the state officers to use, okay? There's a link, go to the 2021 state forms under the network tools dropdown. And I forget what it's called, 2021 state forms or state model. And then you just scroll the page and every tool that's created for the state model is there. And the application and consent to serve are all there if you haven't found it yet. And you're nominating, go ahead, Pam.
So I was just wondering, have you been through the nominating process? How many of you? Have you all been through that process? So you already got that far? Has everybody gotten that far? Yes.
If
Okay,
not,
good.
no big deal.
Right.
That's why we're here.
Okay. So as long as everybody's on the same page, we've gotten through the nominating process, we filled out the forms, we know where they're at. So now getting ready for the actual election. What goes next, Jamie?
All right. So the way you do your nominating committee, the way you handle it doesn't necessarily change from the way you've been doing it. Okay. Who you nominate and who you are nominating or electing or putting out on a slate has changed. But how you've been handling your nominating committee does not change until next year. All right. So you're still doing your nominating committee the way you've been doing it. All right. You've already elected that nominating committee. That's the committee from last year, let's say, right? So you're utilizing that nominating committee and following the practices that you've been doing through this year. Make sense so far?
Okay, so Jamie, just so we're all clear, when they do their governing board meeting, which will be coming up at their state meetings, when they do their elections, they're going to be nominating the new nominating committee for 2021. Now
Correct.
that will be according to the new bylaws.
Correct.
Okay, just so you get it, and that's very different than the old bylaws, just so you know, okay?
Right. And
that's
I always have to look. I don't trust,
Yeah.
I'm old, and so I don't trust everything off my brain. So I always look, I have to look things up. So if somebody asks you a question you don't know, just look at the model first. Always look at the model first, okay? So your new nominating committee is not very many people, all right? You're automatically, right? And so you're automatically going to put in your most recent past president able to serve will be the chairperson, okay? This is for your new nominating committee for next year, but you're electing that nominating committee this year. Make sense so far, guys? Yep, okay. And then your state liaison is a member of your nominating committee. That person was appointed by in June, right? So that person's already taken care of. The leadership identification and development chairperson. Whoever the president is next year, that's who appoints the LID chair, the leadership identification and development chair. Good so far? So those 3 seats are already filled in. So now what you have to do is elect 1 member and 1 alternate from the current governing board. Good? And then you're going to elect 2 members and 2 alternates from the membership. Just not much different than what we've been doing in the past. So, and keep in mind that you are not supposed to have more than 2 people from the same network on the nominating committee. So keep that in mind when you're doing that, when you're taking nominations from the floor, or however you, however your folks from the general membership or the governing board are nominated. Just keep that in mind when you're accepting those names, okay?
And also remember that when a name does come forward, that you do ask them if they consent to serve,
Right.
you know, just to get an acknowledgement that they're willing to do it. We did have that in Florida. One person was set forward and they declined. So you just need to find out where they're at. Very important.
Good so far? Oh my God, this is exciting. Oh wait, Laura's got a question. Unmute
Yes.
yourself, Laura.
Okay. The question was, you said the LID chairperson is appointed by next year's president?
Yes.
Okay, because someone thought they already had the right to state that. So, okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
Carmen.
Carmen, yes.
Okay, I have a quick question. I know that we're not supposed to have no more than 2 people on the nominating committee from a network.
Right.
We have 6 networks in the state of Tennessee, so
Right.
we're probably going to have more than 2 people.
Yes.
Is there an exception to that rule, I take it?
I can defer to Jeff, but I would say yes. I could, and defer to Pamela. I would say yes. That in smaller states, it's almost probably impossible to do that. Try your best. Pamela, do you have?
I agree with you, Jamie. I think that's the best way to look at it. I think that, yeah, when you're a smaller state, I mean, you're talking 6 people, there's a possibility that you may, you may not. And we had to, in Florida, make an exception because Andrew Bell actually was the president. He was the nominating chair. However, he's the state appointed state liaison. So there's going to be some exceptions that you're going to make because it's part of the process. Just try to get as many people involved as you can. However, there will be, especially in this transitional year that we're going through right now, there may be some overlaps.
Yeah.
It's fine to have exceptions like that. I'll give you an example. For the national meetings, it says our governing board meeting must be held together with NARs. And this year, we can't put our conferences together and it's too hard. So we have an exception to that. We try to follow as much as we can. When you can't, you simply don't. So and if someone brings it up, just say, thank you, noted. And yeah. Good
question, Carmen. Thank you.
And certainly don't have everybody, you know, everybody on the nominating committee from the same network. That's a problem. That's unacceptable, I would say.
Right, that's exactly right. So, and then of course, some of your networks may have a district vice presidents. You know, so you are nominating the slate of officers, which in Florida, we had to do away with, we had 5 positions. So we had to do away with our vice president as well as our secretary. So you need to make sure in advance, if you are not having the, well, most of us won't have the secretary, you need to let the membership know that they're going to be voting for the president-elect, the treasurer, president-elect,
and treasurer.
Treasurer, that's it.
Yeah,
Okay.
locally, right?
Talking about on the state level.
Oh, state level. No, you're electing president-elect, first vice president, and treasurer.
Treasurer, that's it. I'm sorry. We had vice president,
yeah,
first vice and president-elect. So we had to do away with 2 positions. So what was very nice about Christine is she sent it out there. And she also included in her email the old bylaws, the new bylaws, as well as the information about electronic voting from the article, I think it is 9 from the state bylaws that you can vote electronically. So I think communication is key right now for all of you to get that information out to them so that they understand who they're voting for, who gets to vote, and they get a grasp of it. Is there anything that you would say to that, Jamie?
I think that's right on target. Just making sure that you give them plenty of notice.
Exactly. So that's so far what you've done is you realize that you're communicating with them prior. You're going to do some kind of a trial and error beforehand. So who's using Election Buddy? Are all of you using Election Buddy? No? What are you using? Go ahead. If you want to get in on there, just unmute yourself.
We haven't done anything yet, but
Okay.
Election Buddy's what we were looking at using. Our election is on September the 16th. So we've done the nominating. We've sent out the first letter to the members to let them know who the slate is and given them the information that if anyone's going to run from the floor, that it has to be within 7 days prior. So by September the 9th. So that's where we are right now. But Election Buddy's what I'm looking at using. I just don't know how to use that yet. And I would like to do a test prior.
That's so important. I think Jamie mentioned it earlier is to get on early, half hour early, so that you test everybody's microphones and their cameras, and then make sure you do a test prior to it. So I know in Florida they use Election Buddy, and they also did a poll. For the district vice presidents, they actually had them do a poll. So they put all these names down. So you can also do it that way. And in Florida, there was nobody running from the floor for any of the slated officer positions. So we were able to do a voice vote.
Right. Nice.
I was wondering about that, if we could just do raise the hand in Zoom if there's nobody contesting.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
I think
key
you have to give yourself some kind of grace through this whole period and not be so hard on yourselves. You know, this is different, right? We're all experiencing different stuff and we got to learn as we go. I think that's probably fine. Carmen, I'll come to you, but Kim, I saw your post that you guys are meeting face to face. Lucky.
Who says that?
Kim Sitten.
Oh, really? Hey,
Oh,
okay.
Idaho, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. So you guys can vote face to face. You're doing, and when is your election?
It is October 8th.
Okay. Okay, that's great. So your process doesn't necessarily change. You guys are
No.
going to do it. Okay, that's good. That's great.
We're excited.
Yep. Carmen, you're
Unmute.
muted.
I'm concerned about having a quorum
Okay.
because not everyone is probably going to join in a Zoom meeting. We will not be meeting, in person. We are still virtually here in Tennessee. So what do I do if I don't have a quorum?
Well,
Well, we were worried about that nationally. If it's in conjunction with other meetings, I think you may find out that too many people show up who shouldn't be there, and you're going to have to ask them to change their screen name to ensure that they're actually a voting member. So typically in electronic meetings, we're getting more, we're getting about a 30% higher than we'd get at a live meeting. So, but yeah, you'll want to make sure and get a quorum for the meetings. But what we've seen anecdotally this year is it's been fairly easy to get a quorum.
Okay.
well, and I think Jeff had a good point. Don't forget to let them put the governing board in front of their name, so you know who's a voting delegate. Super important. A general membership, GM, governing board, GB, prior to their name. So that's super important.
Hey, Pamela, Judy they're offering an incentive. Judy, I don't know what state you're from.
Oh, sorry. I'm
That's
not
okay. So tell us
I'm-
what you're doing.
sure. Sorry, I wasn't sure if I was muted or not.
Oh, no worries.
Virginia and Kathy Markwood is on here too. I think she can talk to this, but we're charging like $10 to attend, and it comes with a one raffle ticket, or you can buy additional raffle tickets. And what we're giving away is reimbursement of your dues for 2021. So trying to give people a reason to come. We're offering it in our state meeting with a program doing the election first. So trying to give people a reason to attend. So that's a pretty good reason.
Cool.
That's an idea. Just be careful you follow your state laws when it comes to doing any kind of raffles.
Yes.
You know that. Okay.
I think our situation will be what Jeff was talking about, that we will have to have them put governing member or governing board, because when we did our April meetings, oh my gosh, we had twice the number of people that normally will attend the state meetings. So,
Once you open up that waiting room, you don't know who's who, and unless you've got a spreadsheet right next to you, it's so much easier. We ask them to put pound and then exact GB or whatever. That way they come to the top of the list, and you can quickly sort through who they are. And then if they have a question or something, we always say, please confirm that you're a governing board member. It's just really hard in a virtual environment to know who's who and what's what. So, but with a little preparation, it's easy.
And you don't have the sergeant at arms there, you know.
Oh.
So that makes a big difference. What they did in Florida, and this is just the experience I just had last week that I want to share with you, is the very beginning they went through and they waited. They said, okay, everyone, please change your screen name. And they actually waited until they could see that everybody was doing it, so that there was no misunderstanding of who was voting and who wasn't voting. And if they had a question, they went into the chat and somebody would answer them if they were unsure. But another thing Christine did is she said who was on the governing board. She said, if you are this person, then you are on the current governing board. So it was, it's all about making sure that you read them the information or you send it out prior so that they know what they're doing. And if they don't, then they can ask a question. I always find that if you're unsure of what's going on, if you say, hey, just ask a question, then they'll do that. So that's important.
So what why would we define between governing board and governing member?
Well, when you're electing your nominating committee, you're going to elect one person from the governing board and then two people, well, and your alternates. So it's very important that you know who's who.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Thank you.
And just so you know that when you're electing someone from your governing board, they must be on the governing board this year. Okay. Otherwise they can't come out of the governing board. Just,
Yep.
So you know. And then I guess the other thing, I think, Jamie, you've had a lot of questions. I know there was a lot of things that the differences between how they're the old and the new versus. So can you maybe just talk about some of the things that have been coming across, your phone calls that you're having with leaders?
Sure. Sure. So one of the main questions, and actually Christine, Florida had this question prior to election, is they're finding that you may have folks that have served on the nominating committee like currently or last year, and they may be holding like that state liaison position next year or the leadership identification development position next year, which means they automatically serve on the nominating committee again, a second year in a row. So, we have a new model, we're starting fresh, and so it's okay. And it does say they're not supposed to serve 2 years in a row. However, we want the positions to serve the way the model was designed so that we can really see how it's operating and how it's working. And then, if you need something in writing, we've got something in writing that we can send to you if you think you have members that might question it, but it is okay for people to serve a second consecutive year on the nominating committee. So we've seen that a few times in the last few weeks. Let's see what else. That's the main one, I think. With regard to electronic voting, you all know that we voted to be able to do electronic voting. You might need a script maybe, okay, to help you through that.
Jeff, don't you have a script that you have available?
We do, and we're happy to share it with anyone who would like it. Wendy, you just asked for a copy. I'm getting ready to send it to you, but yeah, no problem. We developed a script. Is everything going to apply for your state network? No, but it does. It has some good verbiage in there, and it's things like your virtual backgrounds can't have vote for so and so. We reserve the right to disconnect somebody if there's constant noise in the background, and it's got some stuff you may just want to lift. So just send me an email to jhornberger@wcr.org. I'll pluck it from Dropbox and I'll get it your way, and we're happy to share. And again, it was based on voting using Election Buddy. But with that being said, especially smaller states, it's very adaptable. It's for those of you who are thinking about using Election Buddy. This is a really good template. And the only other thing I'd say about Election Buddy is they charge a little bit more for a supervised election where you have somebody handy on the other phone or via live chat. Pay that extra fee because you don't want to get left holding the ball if something goes wrong.
Okay, and there was a question in chat, and we're going to get back to it about the 2021 president on an LID. So don't worry about that. Jeff, keep that one up so we can talk about that. But I wanted to let you know a couple other tidbits of information that were sent out. All voters must register a minimum of 24 hours in advance of the elections.
Good point.
So you put a deadline on there, and then you open up the room a certain time, and it says all voters must log in no later than, and you give them a time. What happened in Florida is somebody said, well, I'm not getting it. They logged in after the time. And so once the time of login is over, then this is virtual and this is electronic. Things have to come into play. So there has to be guidelines. So put on some guidelines for that. Otherwise, if they're not in on time, they cannot cast a vote. And now, Jeff, can you go back to the chat about I saw a 2021 president on an LAD. Somebody wrote in there.
Sure, let me read that here. We've got some
Troublemaker Laura typed it in there.
Yeah, not
Laura
LA.
Leiden's question was, can one be immediate past president in 2021 and nominating chair as well?
No. You don't want the same person. Why would you have the same person there? They're one or the other. You have to fill that role in a different way. I mean, Jeff, you,
yeah,
Jamie, you guys.
We need
you
to
guys
clarify that. So Laura, can you clarify that, what you meant by that?
All right. Next year, one of your governing board positions would be immediate past president,
Yes.
correct? And then it says nominating committee. You would have the immediate past president be the chair of the nominating committee.
Okay, fair question. I think I follow where you're going now.
Okay.
All right. So the way the model was written, if you don't mind, Pamela, you want me to?
No, go ahead.
All right, so the way the model was written was to spread out the responsibilities, okay? So you don't want the most immediate past president holding all of these positions, okay? You want to make sure that the most recent past president is, say, the nominating chair. But then you can go beyond that past president to the one prior and say, would you like to be, hold another position, right? So the immediate past president should not be holding all of those positions. Does that make sense? You need to spread out because you've got governing board votes, and there's only one vote, right? They can't have multiple votes on the governing board. So you need to spread out the responsibility. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so if the immediate past president is the LID chair and the nominating chair, that doesn't work well with the model.
But not LID. Let's say we say not LID. I thought the immediate past president would have a governing board seat and be nominating committee chair. And you're saying not next year. I mean, we've done that all the other years, but you're saying not next year.
No.
The immediate past president isn't on the governing board any longer,
That's
correct?
correct.
Okay,
Only if they're
because
the
I'm
nominating.
the current president. I will be state liaison next year. So I would not be the nominating chair next year.
No.
I would have to choose another one. Now I have one right now that was the past last year's. Okay. Could I go back further than have, as long as they're active and
willing to serve.
willing to serve?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So
the
Laura,
immediate
look
past
at,
president is, go ahead.
well, look at page 4 of the model, and we can look at, if you have it,
I do.
and look at your governing board. So, you got it?
Got it.
Okay. So page 4.
Now,
So governing
Jamie.
board.
Jamie, this is Sandy Runyon. Are you referring to the March 2020 version? Wasn't
No.
there-
You should have one April 30, 2020.
That's my problem.
Okay. It's posted on the website.
Okay. Gotcha.
It says final April 30, 2020. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So everybody got it? Page 4? All right. So your governing board is made up of your leadership team, right? Your president-elect, your first vice president, your treasurer, your state liaison. Okay. Then you have, you're right, the most recent past president willing and able to serve, but that isn't necessarily your nominating chair.
Okay.
It's one or the other.
Okay, one or the other. Okay.
Okay. Then you have the local network presidents. Then you have the leadership identification development chair. And it should not be the same. It shouldn't be a past president that's already holding another one of these spots. Okay. The nominating committee chair, if not the most recent past president. So we were not super clear on the model, which the most recent past president, where that person should serve, right? Exactly. But what we did was we gave, in the design, we gave the incoming president a little bit of leeway where they wanted to put that most recent past president, okay? We all go into it as past presidents knowing that we're going to be the nominating chair, okay? But isn't necessarily who that is in the model, okay? But if you want your most recent past president to serve as the nominating chair, then that's the person you select, okay? That's the person that should do it.
And you just don't have them as immediate past president on the governing board. They're
Right,
one
you
or
would
the
choose
other.
somebody else, correct?
Um,
Yeah. I mean, you could, but now you're taking away one of your governing board votes, and you really want those governing board votes, right, in there. You need
Okay.
those bodies, you need those votes, you need that opinion, you need that experience, right? So you need to spread that out. Does that clear that up a little bit?
Yes, it does, definitely. Thank you.
Okay, and then you've got the Strategic Planning Committee Chair, which could be a past president, but maybe it's not. A past president's advisory chair. So there's plenty of places for the past presidents, even though they're not on the governing board anymore, like we used to be. And California's got like, I don't know, 10 past presidents. Florida's probably the same thing that are still active. So 10 of us are like, well, that makes me mad because I don't have a governing board vote. But we created some spots for those past presidents to serve, right? You just don't want your governing board to be all past presidents, right? Because then the past presidents are making all the decisions, and that's not necessarily good either. And then you've got your national liaison. So if you have a national liaison or a national executive committee person that is from your state, they're on your governing board. However, they're not voting members, but they certainly can weigh in on discussion. They can give their opinion, but they're not part of the vote. They're non-voting ex officio members. How'd we do? And your district vice presidents, if you're in a state that has them. Good? Did I make it more cloudy, or is it clearer?
Well, there's a lot of things that are going on. So it's a work in progress, and we're all learning along the way. So please feel free. Don't ever feel like you have a dumb question or anything like that. We want you to feel prepared and confident that when you go into this, that you are going to do the best job possible. And yeah, there may be some glitches. Don't worry about it. Everybody's been through Zoom this whole year. We all have seen. I mean, NAR did their leadership summit, and half the time their technology failed. So it happens. So don't worry about it. You'll get through it. I promise.
Yeah, and for you all,
So this is the 2021 governing board?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
For you all, the new state model coupled with online voting are two very complex things that nobody's seen in the past 20 plus years. So if it feels confusing, it is. So.
Well, and you have the opportunities as leaders to pave the way for the future of what's happening in the council. So, woohoo! I mean, go, go, go. And so you're doing things that have never been done before, and you're doing them the right way because you're sitting here to learn everything you can to make sure that it's a successful election and 2021 gets off to the right start. Because if anyone wants 2021 the right start, it would be me. So I'm just saying.
We learn as we go.
That's it. That's it. So,
Right.
so is there anything, did we miss anything, Jamie?
Just one thing is keep in mind that your elections need to be done by October 15th. Everybody got that? And the reporting form for your officers is in a JOT form on the website. So it's already there. So if you've done your elections already, you can fill in the JOT form and off it goes to national. You don't have to worry about it.
And we'll be announcing it soon, saying click here. You don't have to go around and find it. We'll, via the roadmap newsletter, we'll be saying, here is the form, click here, please report by XYZ date. So just get that roadmap newsletter and we'll make sure.
Perfect. And then you all, does that answer question? I guess we could answer questions if you have any.
Well, Laura has questions about the past president or the current president. So Laura, go unmute yourself. Let's go through this again.
And then after that, we'll take Kathy Markwood has her hand raised.
Okay,
I
thank
didn't
you.
mean to take all the question time.
No,
So just to be clear, for my coming up president, 2021, they will appoint the immediate past president. They will appoint the LID chair, and they will appoint the nominating chair, and they will appoint who is head of the past president's advisory chair.
All right, and then you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to double check that. So let me go to the tools because I want to make sure that we have that right. Okay, so you're going to, I'm going to duck for 1 second. So let's make sure that we have it right for you.
Sure. While you're looking, Kathy, did you got a question? I see your hand raised. I'll lower the hand.
I did. I want to go back to Carmen's question. Say by chance we don't have a quorum when we have our state meeting. Can we extend our election time for another 24 hours to get more people to vote?
Well, Jeff, I think that they can as long as the deadlines are met, right? I mean,
Yeah, I would. I'm trying. It's a very good question. I'm thinking what we would do at National is we would put the meeting on hold and see if we can get a quorum and drag someone out of their hotel room or from another call if it's in a virtual world,
well,
and see if we can get a quorum. So
and let me ask this question, Jeff, because I'm wondering if this is an alternative. If they won't attend the meeting, could they send in, could you hold your election and then have them send in their votes so that you have the quorum, like via email or some other way? Or would they just, I mean, how would be an alternative? Let's say they cannot get everybody to attend at one time. Is there an alternative where they can send out an email, a poll to all their governing board?
I know Jamie's looking at something, but I believe the answer is no, but I'm going to.
Okay.
I'm going to.
Can I jump in real quick? Our local association, when we have our elections, we've been doing it for several years, because not everybody attends the membership meetings, that they don't close the polls till like midnight that night.
Right,
So people
right.
can go back and vote from their office. Could
Right.
that
Well,
be done?
We certainly don't have that established, but I think that that's not something we really.
So now we're wading into parliamentary procedure, and
Right.
and, Kathy, it's actually a good question because I begged our parliamentarian to let us do that. I said, can we just leave voting open for a while and not have these awkward pauses? And I was even exploring the future too. I said, you know, if we go to DC live next year, can we just leave polling open all day and close it at 6 p.m. and then have a meeting where we announce the winner? And the answer of our parliamentarian was due to parliamentary procedure, absolutely not.
Okay.
So it's not a women's council rule, it's a parliamentary procedure rule.
That's
You have to
it.
gather everybody in there at that time. You know, I know other organizations like RRC, they have a totally different voting system where, you know, it's you can telephone in, it's open for a week and so forth, but it's not compatible with our bylaws. So
Okay.
Thank
There
you.
you have it. Thank you, Jeff.
Okay, Laura, so leadership identification and development, chair is appointed by the incoming president, and the president-elect appoints the vice chair. The past president advisory, it's the same thing. And budget and finance, the treasurer is the chair, the president-elect appoints the vice chair. Which one did I miss? And they're all listed on the website. So if you go to that network tools dropdown, the description, if you look at the description of the committees, and then at the bottom of each of the PDFs, it says who appoints which position. In case I missed one for you. Okay?
Thank you, Jamie. Thanks for
Okay.
checking into that. You know, you always refer back to your bylaws and then your standing rules and then the new model. There's all kinds of going back and forth, you know.
Yeah.
So we're, like we said, we're all going through this process together. Do you have any other questions before we wrap this up? Anything else? Are you feeling a little more comfortable with this process? If not, this is your time. Let us know. All right.
Yeah, for
Carmen.
sure.
Can I get one clarification on something you said, Pamela? On the nominating committee, you elect one member and one alternate from the board. That's from the 2021 board once the board is established, or that's the 2020 board?
Well, right now we're doing 2020 board. Next year it'll be the 2021 board. Does that make sense? Right now we're using the same board that our 2020 board. We're using them and we're nominating from that board, not
Okay.
the one in the future.
That-
You know,
that-
Yeah.
That's
The
what I wanted
current
to
governing board, Judy.
current.
nominated, right? That's what I wanted to clarify.
Is that
Yep.
clear? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
And remember, anybody that wants to be on the nominating committee cannot be running for a position. Now, you know, it may change, thus the reason you have alternates. But, you know, that is one of the stipulations actually for serving on the nominating committee at the state level, is that they need to not be running for a position.
Okay, our state used this new for nominating this year.
Okay.
Are we in trouble?
Uh,
We
well, you
wanted to do a test run and make sure we were covered on what we were doing. So, and we
With regard
have
to
several
what?
that were going to be repeats from before, because we have a lot that do 2-year terms.
Right.
So we used this model when we chose our state
For
nominee.
2020, your nominating committee is according to the model that, yeah, that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not gonna, I mean, at this point with the transitions and all this, you were just being advanced. You know, there's always those people out there, you know.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that. Now,
Carmen.
Another
Carmen
troublemaker.
had a question. Go ahead,
Carmen's
Carmen.
got a question.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So this is kind of in conjunction to the election process. Then we have the installation. In Tennessee, we've always done our election at our state meetings, but this year our state meeting did not involve us. So we're not on the schedule. So we have to do ours separately, which I understand everything's, you know, 2020 is new. Well, our 2021 president-elect, normally, like I said, we would do our election and then the following day we would have our installation. She's wanting to do our installation in person. And I have a problem with that. I understand it's important. It's her year, you know, and I understand that. But as far as from the state of Tennessee standpoint, we still have hotspots of COVID-19 all throughout the state. And for us to come together in one location, I just feel like that it would not be wise, because one, Tennessee Realtors is doing their installation virtually. Two, National Association of Realtors and National Women's Council is doing theirs virtually. So I just feel like that we as a state network needs to follow through and do the same.
You know,
How do
my comment would be that the National Women's Council, and Jeff can chime in at any time, and Jamie, we have suspended all travel, in-person travel, through the end of the year, and who knows, that may even go further. But right now, our policy with our officers is that we will not be doing any personal travel. So
Okay.
just so you know, and follow the guidelines of your state. I mean, we want you all to be safe. I mean, that's the most important thing. And so, you know, all I can say is a National Women's Council, the National Association of Realtors, Tennessee, we're all practicing social distancing at this point. You know, you can do something the following year, even for our inaugural here at the national level. You know, we're talking about getting together hopefully in 2021 to celebrate, you know. So
Right.
there's other opportunities to celebrate, but you want to be safe. That's
Okay.
the main thing. And so I don't know if anyone wants to add to it.
Yeah, I think you've touched on a couple things, Carmen. The first is, yeah, our bylaws say the same thing, that everything needs to be together. It can't happen this year because, you know, Tennessee Realtors has their own issues putting together a virtual conference, and they can't accommodate Women's Council like they always can. We have the
Right.
same thing with the NAR. Pamela is absolutely correct. If the state is not doing an inaugural, a live inaugural, then I cannot fathom why Women's Council would want to buck that trend. And you got to remember, the State Realtor Association has a chief legal counsel. They've got attorneys on the staff. They work with the government. I don't know why you would all want to go in the opposite direction. We just heard that Idaho is going to have a live meeting. I'm just assuming, you know, they're probably following protocols and maybe a different situation there, and that's fine. Some local entities are saying, yeah, we're doing live meetings, and you know, we don't know the on the ground situation of everywhere, but I think what we're trying to tell people is follow what your local and state realtor associations are doing. Tap into them. They have the staffing, they have the expertise, they know the legal exposures that you may have. I just think having a live inaugural when the state is not doing it doesn't seem like a good idea.
Okay. Thank you. That really helps me try to get the message across.
Advise.
Yeah, well, and another thing is, you know, I think the situation now is everybody needs to be flexible. Maybe there's a window of opportunity in the Tennessee Realtors springtime to do a celebration, and maybe it's a sort of delayed inaugural, or you know, there's a virtual one now, and we commit to doing an in-person celebration when and if things, you know, when things get to a you know, get to a better level. So I think there can be ways of doing inaugural. It's just going to be different. And a live something might be in the cards in a future date. I think that might be a good way to you know, to deal with the inaugural in that situation.
Okay. Thank you. Thank
Carmen?
you very much.
I had the same conversation with my president-elect who has decided to go virtual. And I'm like, we have all sorts of entertainment on our television screens. Why can't we make this a fabulous, sparkling, outstanding inaugural and have it be on a television screen? I mean, you know, hire someone who does those kind of fabulous events. And that's the direction we're going in.
Good. That's great. You just have to be more creative these days, right? You have to really think what we always say, outside the box. This is really the time that we have to do that.
And you know what?
Fortunately, Missouri had already decided that we weren't going to do our installations in September as we normally do. It was decided 2 years ago that we were going to do the installations in January at the January business meeting. And so we're not in that position. So if things open up in January, we will be live, because we do our state installation with the state realtors. So Women's Council is with the state at the same time. So we'll see how that plays out. But otherwise, yes, we will be virtual. We'll follow whatever the guidelines are. And we prefer to stay by what National wants us to do and not rock the boat where state is, because we're now accepted among the state members as not just the stepdaughter.
Well, and you know what, Carmen, if she wants to get together with a couple people, meetings, maybe she doesn't want to be alone. I've had this conversation with some of my local members. They're like, where are you going to be when you get installed as the national president? I said, I'll be sitting at my desk. And they're like, no. So if she wants to gather with a couple people, that's fine. But putting together a major event that you're going to put people in maybe a safety issue harm, that, you know, I would just say that, you know, we talked about it and celebrate. You'll have time to celebrate. Believe me, we're going to celebrate all year. 2021 is going to be a year of celebration.
You're here.
Yeah.
So I think that's the way it should be.
Yeah. I do have one other question. I've got a couple of networks that have decided that they're not having an election, that they are going to continue on with their same board for 2021 because they feel like they were slighted because of COVID-19. I told them that I think that that they still need to have an election because our positions have changed somewhat and they need to figure that part out. Do you have any other recommendations or what I need to tell them?
Do you want me to address that? Okay.
Sure thing.
So it's happening across the country. Some locals are wanting to stay in position for more than 1 year. What you need to make sure is that it doesn't look like to the membership that the local officers have randomly made this decision and not opened up the opportunity for maybe people to run from the floor, right? Maybe they want to do that. Maybe they didn't really take care of a nominating committee and offer, you know, opportunity to run for a position to the members. And so we totally understand that 2020 was a little difficult for the networks to gather. They need to have a discussion with their membership and has the entire line officer group decided locally that that's what they're going to do? And honestly, did the president-elect approve that? Because the president-elect in waiting is now going to wait for another year. And if that's okay with the president-elect, that's another thing they should be taking into consideration. But you need to give the members an opportunity. We're a leadership organization, and they should have been leading no matter what in 2020. And so what's going to change in 2021 that's going to make them lead any better? This was an opportunity to show your leadership. And so, and that sounds a little harsh, I'm sorry, but this is what we are. This is who we are. And so they should have been connecting with their members all along and doing the things that they needed to do to engage. But they need to put it out there to the members, to their local members, and say, this is what we're going to do, and let them decide. That's kind of my answer. It doesn't solve the problem.
No,
Sorry.
no, and of course we'd rather bring in new leaders, because we're supposed to bring up people. That's who we are. And however, we do know that this is happening across the country. And I think Jamie really hit it, is it's not their decision totally to make. They do need to get with their governing board and with their general members. And so that's the way I would approach that. You know, if that's what the general members say, yeah, this sounds like a good plan, then, you know, we understand. We do understand these things are happening. So I don't know if Jeff has anything else to add to that.
I would say you're both spot on, with the caveat that, again, the theme is 2020 is an unprecedented year, and what we want to see most is the survival of the network. So when you've gone through all those checkpoints that Pamela and Jamie have articulated, then if they have to repeat a year, they have to repeat a year.
Right. I just think that it shouldn't be not everybody wants to stay in, and not everybody wants to stay in position to set another year. That, right? That doesn't necessarily apply to everybody either. But you could almost, Carmen, as just have a templated answer to, if it comes across, because you have, did you say 6 networks or 7? 6. Okay. So you might have a templated answer that if you've got more than one network that, that want to stay in position, they brought it to your attention, or that you just have an answer, a standard answer for those folks. And then they just have to decide, and hopefully the membership won't be angry about it or whatever, but you just have, if you do, you're going to have to just address it. They're going to have to address it. Then maybe they have to have an election of some sort.
Right.
We're seeing that it's happening.
Sandra.
Okay. Well, I'm not trying to create problems, but I just want to make sure I have the answers whenever it does come.
Yeah, we get it. Yeah, we get it.
Sandra from Ohio.
Hi, I had a Zoom call with my state or my local presidents and president-elects last week to talk about this. And we have 6 networks, and 4 of the 6 are repeating at least the president or president-elect are going to repeat their terms. And they both agreed that that's what they wanted to do. So they spoke to each other. However, I never thought about them having to reach out to their general members and verifying that that's okay with the general members. So I think now I have to let them know that they have to send an email out to their local members and tell them what the intent is, that they are all holding an election, even though they're going to repeat, they're still doing an election. But then I think maybe to make things simpler, they could offer anyone interested to run from the floor, in order to accomplish or alleviate anything that would fall out from this, since they didn't already talk to their general members.
Well, as long as it's the person running from the floor has gone through the nominating committee process, and has signed a consent to serve, then they can run from the floor. However, if they are already putting this together, I don't know if that process has been met. So that might be some kind of discussion that you have with them just to make sure that they're not leaving anyone out, you know? So
Yeah.
thank you. So, you know, this is a challenging year, please. We all know that. There's a lot of changes. It's an opportunity. I think that we have acknowledged the Women's Council has risen to the occasion. I think they've exceeded it. And across the board, yes, we are having challenges with recruiting. However, we're also having some of our networks that are recruiting big time because the Women's Council is adding value. I think that you know, I have to say, we just had our Network 360, and we know Jeff, Jane, all of us were like, how are we going to do this? Because this is the time when our incoming leaders need to connect, to build those relationships, to feel like they are together in this. Because you all remember being in their shoes and how you walk away like, oh my goodness, but you're together. And the last
Right.
day, you remember that. And the last day, Friday, we did key takeaways, and we had them. And two of the presidents-elect that were on there actually cried that this experience was so moving to them. And I thought, oh boy. So there is a way to connect virtually. We are doing it. We are connecting virtually. So don't let that stop you from reaching out, and don't let that, you know, because next year we might be sitting here doing the same thing. Who knows? You know, so they're coming for education, they're coming for value, they're coming for connections. So as long as we can reconnect with them, we'll be good.
Yeah.
And that's all, unless someone else has a question.
Penny has a question.
Well, I just want to clarify, in order to be the most transparent, if we have state boards, or our state board is somewhat going forward, and some of our local networks are going forward, going through with just an election with the opportunity out there, isn't that more transparent rather than just saying, you know, you got what you got, and
Yeah.
that's what we're going to do going forward?
There is a process. There is a process, and there's guidelines that you have to follow. And yes, if you want to repeat, you still need to go through the process. So I think if anything else that we've all had this discussion today, it was a very important discussion because we are seeing it more and more and more. So yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, Penny, good point. Yeah, really good point. Yep.
All right.
Anybody
Well-
else?
One more question.
Okay.
We have a Facebook page that I put videos out on. Can we also put out that slate on there for the members to know? Because I
Sure.
have a lot of people that might not read the emails, but they'll watch the Facebook video.
It's
You need
another
to
way to
do it-
post. Sure.
Yeah, it's another way to post, exactly. You need to do it in different ways because some people are more Facebook, some people are more, so, you know, that's
Right.
just how it is. So yeah, no problem.
It's
Okay,
another one of
just-
those transparent things, Lynn.
Pardon?
Another one of those transparent things.
Yes. Okay. All right. Sounds great. Thank you.
You're welcome. So
All right.
when's everybody's election? So in
October,
another week, 2 weeks?
September the 16th.
Okay, that's good.
New York is on October 8th.
Okay, great.
Jamie,
October
can you
15th.
help us with the election buddy?
I would love to, except I don't know a lot about it, but I think Jeff has a lot of good info for you on that.
Okay.
Yeah, they prefer to be contacted via chat. We worked with someone who is Canada based. It's a good company. They'll get you a quote very quickly.
Okay.
Contact me if you have any questions or doubts.
Okay.
It worked out very well for us.
Great.
It may or may not meet your needs. So
All right.
Sandy
Right,
thank
Runyon, we completed our elections already for Ohio.
Okay.
We did it through SurveyMonkey.
Okay.
Yeah,
there you
that's a
go.
good way of doing
There's
it.
another way to do it. Yeah, see,
Sounds-
that's good. All these tidbits are helpful, so that's good. What else we got? Anything else? Now, one last point. This doesn't really have anything to do with election. However, you all know that you've got right now 2 sets of bylaws, right? So we're working off of kind of a hybrid of bylaws at this point. So on your microsites, you should have posted your current bylaws and your new bylaws. So once January 1st hits, your old bylaws are going away and your new bylaws will be the only ones there. Okay. So just so you know, that question didn't come up, but I just wanted you to make sure that you were aware in case you didn't notice that.
Jamie, Sandy Runyon again, I'm sorry. The most current version of the model bylaws for April 30th, 2020. And so that, in other words, Ohio's, should it be on our microsite? Is that where I
Yeah,
find it?
your current, are you talking about the model or the bylaws?
I thought it was, well, I don't know. You tell me. I'm confused.
So
No,
the
it's
model,
okay, yeah.
yeah,
Go ahead,
the
Jamie.
model will not be posted on your microsite. That's on National Women's Council site.
Okay, I saw that.
Okay. Your bylaws will be, and Jeff, go ahead.
Sure. On the micro sites, on the state network microsites, we have both the old bylaws and the new bylaws posted. Towards the end of the year, we'll just zap and take off your old bylaws.
Okay.
When you go under there, it should be organized by date. And
Yeah.
so you'll want to look at those. We filled in your dues amounts and it's based on the model. All we did is filled in the dues and the name.
Okay, that's what I needed. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. The bylaws are not going to have the April 30th date on it, Sandy. Okay. What else? Wow. It's very exciting.
good?
So, wow. So, you know, send me any questions, you guys. I'm
Jamie,
happy
give
to
them
get
your,
on the phone with you.
Jamie, give them your email address.
I'll
You
put
ready?
it in right now.
You
Super
want to put
easy.
it in the chat? Put it in the chat.
I can. Yeah. I have to sit down to do
Oh,
that.
Jeff did. Jeff got it.
Oh, Jeff got. Thank you, Jeff.
So that's how you get a hold of Jamie. She's our governance girl. She's our network person. Thank
Lori,
you all.
for Michigan, you have 2 days to report your officers after your elections. It's cutting it.
Yeah, I just saw that. I saw that. Just so you
Lori's not in
know.
her car anymore.
No.
Anything? Did we answer all your questions? Anything that you're doubtful about? I mean, no question is a bad question, guys. So that's what we're here for.
It's okay.
Anything? Lori, do you have a question? No. Wow.
Everybody?
All right. Well,
We did
thank
good.
you. Good luck. Be successful with your elections, and thank you for joining us today. It was good to talk with all of you. Take care of yourselves.
Bye, guys. Take care.
Everybody.
Bye.
Bye, Lynn. Well, you're on mute. You're still on mute. The Pamela.